Could this be one of the most addictive anxiolytic or anxiety reducing drugs on the market? In today's video, what I'll do is take a look at alternatives to Phenibut or Phenibut, which is a common nootropic drug that's used by millions of people worldwide to reduce anxiety, reduce social anxiety, and make them feel more calm. So for those of you who are brand new to my channel, my name is Lucas, the founder of Ergogenic Health, and my mission is to bring you the most cutting edge health information that you'll struggle to find on Google. So please, if you do not care about your health, please do not subscribe to my channel. First of all, what is Phenibut or Phenibut? Phenibut is an anti-anxiety medication prescribed in Russia, frequently found under the brand names Aoun, Phenibut, and Nufen. Since the 1960s, it has been used to treat insomnia, depression, stuttering, vestibular disorders, irregular heartbeat, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, Phenibut is a GABA B agonist and goes by the names as B-phenylaminobutyric acid or phenyl-GABA. Now, it's important to note that it is a synthetic form of GABA, one of the brain's primary inhibitory neurotransmitters. So we can see in this diagram below the different molecules that are similar to Phenibut. We've got R-Phenibut, GBP, S-Phenibut, baclofen, then there's also fluorophenibut and some other ones. That's just to give you an illustration of the actual chemical structure. So why is Phenibut risky? Well, you will see a lot of people online say how powerful Phenibut is to reduce anxiety, to make some people feel slightly euphoric, and it's quite an abusive nootropic drug overall. And unfortunately, this carries some risk. And we can see in this particular study, psychomotor agitation, non-responsive to treatment, a case report of Phenibut withdrawal syndrome. So we can see that Phenibut does appear to possess some degree of withdrawal-like effects. And this is noted by many psychonauts and people that have used Phenibut for prolonged periods of time without sort of proper cycling. And they notice that there is actually some degree of dependency, tolerance, and habituation that's developed by using Phenibut in this manner. So again, I'm not someone who's entirely against Phenibut. In fact, I've used it sparingly in the past, for social occasions, but unfortunately it is not sustainable. So in this video, what I'm going to do is take a look at some of the alternatives to Phenibut. It's also important to note how Phenibut works in the brain and why it's also risky. Now, Phenibut is a GABA B agonist, and this study was titled Phenibut, a GABA B agonist detected in a fatality. Now, Phenibut is a GABA B agonist structurally similar to baclofen, which is not approved for medical use in the United States, but is available through internet suppliers for recreational use. This case report describes the autopsy and toxicology findings of a 26-year-old male found dead at home with Phenibut containers on the scene. Autopsy findings and routine toxicology testing were generally unremarkable. Scene findings prompted the validation of a qualitative liquid chromatography, tandem mass spectrometry method that confirmed the presence of Phenibut in blood and urine. So again, we're seeing that Phenibut potentially lethal in an overdose. Again, dosage matters, and the dose makes the poison. So how does Phenibut actually work? Well, Phenibut is a GABA mimetic drug, so it has a GABA mimetic action, and numerous studies reported activation of GABA B receptors by Phenibut. It's interesting because the typical GABA mimetic compounds that act on GABA A receptors were not affected by Phenibut, and they basically tested another drug to antagonize this effect, but it failed to do so, which means that it's mostly mediated through the GABA B receptor. Interestingly, discontinuation of chronic injections of Phenibut to rats increases the density of GABA A and benzodiazepine receptors in the striatum, while that of the GABA B receptors are actually decreased. Chronically administered benzodiazepines actually have the opposite effect. So that's really interesting that we're seeing an increase in the density of GABA A receptors and benzodiazepine receptors, but a downregulation of the GABA B receptors. Phenibut alternative number 1 is called etifoxine or Strezam. Now you will be seeing this linked in the video description down below to purchase etifoxine, and same with the next compound that I'm going to explore. So let's take a look at how etifoxine works. So etifoxine is a non-benzodiazepine anxiolytic drug with an anticonvulsant effect. It was developed in the 1960s for anxiety disorders and is currently being studied for its ability to promote peripheral nerve healing and to treat chemotherapy-induced pain. In addition to being mediated by GABA A2 receptors like benzodiazepines, etifoxine appears to produce anxiolytic effects directly by binding to 2 or 3 subunits of the GABA A receptor complex. So just quickly, the GABA A receptor actually has multiple subunits, and by agonizing and antagonizing various types, this can lead to different effects. Now, what's important to note is that it also affected neurosteroid production. So it's possible that etifoxine can increase allopregnanolone, which is an anxiolytic neurosteroid in the brain. The average dosages of etifoxine is between 50 to 150 milligrams per day for no more than 12 weeks. Now, the most common adverse effect was drowsiness, and you'd expect that from an anxiolytic drug at the initial stage, but it did not cause any degree of withdrawal syndrome. So that's a really key point to note. In conclusion, etifoxine shows less adverse effects of anterograde amnesia, sedation, impaired psychomotor performance, and withdrawal syndromes than those of benzodiazepines. So really interesting that etifoxine can provide an anxiolytic effect without any degree of withdrawal, and by acting on a different subset of GABA receptors, which is really cool. The next Phenibut alternative is Bisaline, so Bicaline 85%. You will be seeing this also linked down below in the video description to purchase. What is Bisaline? Well, Bisaline is actually extracted from Chinese skullcap. And Chinese skullcap is traditionally used to reduce nervous tension, reduce anxiety, and in general as a nervine. Now, this particular study was titled Bicaline or Bisaline activates glycine and GABA receptors on substantia gelatinosa neurons of the trigeminal subnucleus caudalis in juvenile mice. Now, interestingly, a lot of people notice anxiolytic effects from glycine, and it's interesting that this molecule can also bind to and activate the glycine receptors. This next study was titled Anxiolytic-like effect of Bicaline and its additivity with other anxiolytics. And basically what they did was they illustrated that Bicaline can promote further reductions in anxiety when combined with other anxiolytic drugs. Now, this next study was titled GABA A receptor subtype selectivity underlying selective anxiolytic effect of Bicaline, and the basic notes were that Bicaline, a naturally occurring flavonoid, was previously reported to induce anxiolytic-like effects devoid of sedation and myorelaxation in mice through type A GABA receptors. So we're seeing reductions in anxiety without any of the consequences. So the dosage for Bicaline is about 250 milligrams orally twice a day. If you found this video helpful or useful, please like the video. Please be sure to follow me on Instagram, and do check out my website for more amazing health information at ergogenic.health. Thanks everyone. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.